Hello, I'm here with Ben Macpherson, poet, comedian, performer, and all-around amazing person.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
All round amazing person is very kind.
Yes, it's very
I'm also very aware that whenever I put my hand on the table, I am wobbling this a
Wobble,
lot.
yes. We are, where I've done a few interviews, but it is raining. It's on the rooftop, but I've got a lovely umbrella above us. So above us only, not sky, umbrella. Above us only umbrella. So this is going to work. So how have you been? How has your fringe been?
My fringe is going really well. I've had a lovely time, run of shows every day at Burrito and Shake at midday, which has been really nice. Doing playful poetry for sort of all ages. If like the writing of Spike Milligan, Roald Dahl, Hilaire Belloc, kind of pacey rhymes going throughout, and I've had lovely audiences most days, hitting sort of 20 or so, which is great.
It's a decent audience.
Yes.
An average of 6 for the fringe. Most people struggle to get 2.
I am above that, thankfully.
Above that,
so
yeah, exactly.
we'll hold
good.
on to that.
It's all great. And so, how has your show developed? Have you brought something like this before?
So this is a sort of new version of the show that I brought last year, and essentially I've written more poems. So doing more poems.
Always a different show.
Absolutely.
Always more poems. So you can keep going forever with the same basic.
Yeah, pretty much.
More, still more. Yes.
But it's been lovely sharing some new poems with people, and also doing them so often that they're now memorised, sort of without necessarily rehearsing. It's just I've said these 20 times now, so they're now drilled permanently into the head, and the long-term memory's taken hold.
So you won one of those Phoebe Waller-Bridge things last year, didn't you, for your show?
Yeah, last year I got one of the Keep It Fringe awards, which was amazing and took the pressure off having to make the show work financially. It opened up a whole load of sort of protection and coverage for myself with that. This year, sadly, didn't get it, but also it's someone else's turn. You know,
yes,
exactly.
exactly.
I was a bit cheeky putting my hand back in, but
and again, all me. Yes.
Yeah. But I think having had a year to sort of understand what the show is, how to pitch it, how to market it, that's really helped. Also, I am not on quite as shoestring a budget, being sort of a year further on in my career.
Yeah.
I've got a bit more work that is sort of coming to me more confidently, so that freedom is really important.
So you developed and grown as an artist.
I have, which is amazing, and it's so much of that thanks to having the space like protected and curated by the Free Fringe, which I'm massively grateful for.
Well, that's good. Yes. So are you coming back next year with even more or something different?
I intend to be. I'm probably only doing 2 weeks next year because I've got a friend who's getting married at the end of August.
Yeah.
So I have to go and be supportive, and
you have that work-life balance.
Exactly. I mean, I call that every other month of the year.
Yes, all the time.
That's where work isn't, and then Fringe is where work is.
All of it. Yeah.
Although next year I'm sort of thinking what I might do is keep the family show, but then also do a Poems for Adults type show. So I get to do some of the rest of the catalogue, which is one of the sort of odd things about being an artist, that if there's something you get known for, then it's great, that brings people to you, but that does also tend to pigeonhole you slightly, and actually I can do loads. I've got a whole catalogue. I mean, this is the premise for your show, right? You've got sort of about 15, 16 shows worth of...
Yeah, I just do anything you want, really.
Yeah.
Just a friend of mine came to mine today, and there wasn't a big audience, and said, do me a show. I will be very disappointed if you don't do me a show. And then they said, do boylesque. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I'll do my best, but
is that
within reasons.
Is that something you have prepared, or are you just creating boylesque?
It's just like, well, let's just do that then and see what happens. And then I did them a song. I'm like, look at that. And they went, I've done improvised musical theatre. It's like, oh, well, that's nice for you, isn't it?
Wow, they need to naff off. They're not treating you like that. You've put your heart and soul on the line. What monsters.
It wasn't a long show. We just had a chat by the end of it. So that was my show today, having a lovely chat with an old friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'd pay to watch it.
Yeah, well, exactly.
10 quid in the bucket.
Exactly. Yeah, no, what more do you want? Yeah, so, but I mean, I've got lots of different things. But yeah, that's the thing with having a repertoire and having like a lot of stuff behind you, that you can mix and match. You change things around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things I I started trying to do last year, done more work with this year, is also doing cabaret sets, doing late night poetry. I run a couple of sort of more themed nights back home in Nottingham. So I run Smut the Verbal Burlesque, which is poems about love and sex and identity. And inevitably people want some rude words and 4-letter words that rhyme. You never know your luck. Fill in the rest of it yourself. So getting to go to late night spaces and do that has been fun. But also I'm bringing in stuff from the family show because there's still fun poems and good gags, and they're getting as big a laugh as the stuff that's
I mean, that's the thing. There's stuff that is for a family audience, but is for everybody, really. And there's stuff that, you know, you can't really give to younger children.
So I think it's one of the interesting things that, because so much of the free fringe especially relies on bars that have got that 18 plus to protect their licensing, I think there is a trend that we naturally put 18 plus on everything. And actually, if you look at the majority of comedians who are in 18 plus venues, you might have 1 or 2 16 plus moments, but actually what they're saying is fairly universal. And creating spaces where those voices can come forth, and maybe actually here's how we start that new comedy audience by going, oh, you're 14, well, you can come to hear this here, and whoever is doing a more like a 12A level set rather than a 18 plus.
I think the trouble is, a lot of people go, it's for adults, means it has to be raunchy and dirty. It's like adults like other things as well, you know.
And I think to the other side of it as well, people go, oh, it's for family, oh, it's for kids, so it's going to be like, baby, and it's like,
not necessarily.
A lot of my poems are quite bloodthirsty. I've got a poem called Joshua ate who slouched and got eaten by a fish, and it's the story of a young man who loses every single one of his bones and then gets used as fishing bait. And it's pretty horrifying.
That does sound horrifying.
It's playful because the rhymes carry it through.
That's, like, kids like that sort of thing so much. The grimmer the better. I mean, look at Roald Dahl. I know there's other things to be said about Roald, but Roald Dahl also wrote for children, but also wrote for adults. And and
some of his adult writing is very odd.
Very odd.
Weird, sort of, oh gosh, Mr. Dahl, do you need a hug sort of books. But it's interesting. There's this a very determined idea that you must absolutely know your market, who you're pitching it to, who you're pitching it to. And I think because there's such a presence of projects that are drawn from experiences of identity at the Fringe, we sometimes get caught in the sort of trappings of those. Like, there's an awful lot of LGBT shows. I'm a bisexual man. And they all tend towards the 18 plus. And actually, if we see from the trends of things like Heartstopper on Netflix, actually a sort of 13, 14-year-old age show, really there's an appetite for it, and being able to take your identity led projects and put them in a place where you can make them accessible to everyone. And sometimes that might mean taking some of the harsher, more real bits out, but if that starts the conversation, that's a question each artist has to weigh up. And maybe that's how we start shifting that.
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's hard and fast stuff. I think between about 12 and 18, there's stuff that you can talk about that kids want to talk about that they wouldn't want to talk about or know what's going on younger, and you wouldn't want to bring older adult things into that. But there's quite a, I mean, teenagers are still children, but they are not little babies.
It's
a difficult,
they're sentient beings with their own thoughts and everything.
Amazing. But little babies also have sentient thoughts with that. I think people need to treat children as people and with respect, proper respect, and a lot of people just like, no. Because I remember as a child, I really hated being talked down to. It's like, I understand what's going on. Why are you talking to me like that? But then again, you don't want to bring concepts that are just disturbing into young people's lives. Well,
there's been this really beautiful show that some friends of mine have had on up here called Breathe. It's just finished, but it's a story of an acorn that falls from a tree and how it learns to become a tree, basically.
Yeah.
And it is as epic as the Lord of the Rings saga. And they use like puppetry and filming to get different senses of scale for things. There's almost like bits of stop motion animation that they kind of create live on stage as well. And the story is good for all ages. And then you have this sort of wonder of showmaking that you get with places out the fringe. And to have the space and the time and the patience to and actually go, no, this is for everyone, because just because it's aimed at kids, it's still mum, dad, granny, grandpa who are buying the tickets.
Well, and until very recently, everything was aimed for everyone, really. Unless it was specifically for small children, it was for everyone else. Yeah. And that's not happened so much lately. It's like, you're going to see these terrible things.
It was something that was pointed out to me by Gemma Arrowsmith, the sketch writer. I was doing a class with her, and she sort of said, well, actually, if you look at how multi-channel sort of Freeview and satellite TV has changed things. Now all the kids' programs are put in one particular stream, and it used to be that you would have sort of like a phasing up into maturity to hit the 9 o'clock watershed. But what you watched from sort of 4:30 through till 7 was actually quite family-led programming, and now it's like put the kids on whatever channel, and the grown-ups are going to watch Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah, and also the watershed seems to have. I mean, there is more sort of family-orientated stuff at 9. The watershed seems to have slipped ever backwards. So in a way, has it got more mature or has it got less mature? Because most of it's just strictly come dancing and Love Island would be after 10. Love Island's not suitable for anyone.
Yeah, I'm going to join you there. I'm not a fan of watching ripped Adonai go dating and... Yes, that's not what I want to watch.
Not my thing either. No. Well, that's interesting. So I think there's an awful lot of room on, because broadcast television, there's not really any poetry and culture anymore. It got hyped to BBC Two, then it got hyped to BBC Four, and then it's like, let's just get rid of it altogether now.
It's a shame. I think there's such a need for virality with content now, and you've either got to have sort of a long, slow documentary where you can take a clip of a polar bear chewing a seal or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, that's the clip we're using to market it. But actually, to trust that we can nurture attention spans back from the sort of 45-second mark up to like the 2-minute, 3-minute mark, and actually, there are wonderful, wonderful stories. There's the poet Harry Baker has so much beautiful online content, and a lot of it's gone viral. And his poems are sort of 5-6 minutes long, if you trust your audience to have the patience, and if you invest in your audience having the patience, then it will be rewarded. And if you have this sense that, okay, no, we have to grab them, well, like, then you're being thrown around like luggage at Heathrow Airport, and actually sometimes you want to be sort of gently moved.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's lost the patience. It's like, I think we've got the patience, we've just forgotten that we've got it. Really?
Absolutely.
And also because all the TV series that start, it's like, well, that didn't work. Not enough people watched it. Cancel it. It's like, but we loved it. Nah, you don't care. Don't like you.
Where's your clicks? Where's your clicks? Where's your clicks?
Exactly, because there's always something's got a core audience that's absolutely loving it, and it could grow, but it's like the people making it can't be bothered because it's not making enough money straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's sort of a sign that we need to protect those funded places that are making content that don't have to immediately.
This is it. And also, you say, oh, well, I want art subsidies and something. And people go, oh, well, if it's not making money, then people don't want it. It's like, oh, that's not actually what's happening. I think you'll find that people do want it, but it doesn't necessarily make money because people aren't putting the money into it. Then it's not going to get to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, like in Italy, opera is very big because it's like culturally important. It's like, not that I'm saying opera for everyone, but it's an example.
Opera
for some. Exactly. Most places where there's cultural themes, they value that, and it is more mainstream because they value it more. Whereas here, it just seems like, nah, that's just for the elite. It's like, well, it's for the elite because you won't let anyone else have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want it.
this year I have seen more magic shows than I normally would do, and that's been great. Like last year I saw more sort of clown and sort of character-led stuff. This year's been more sort of magic shows, and it's just actually, how do you use this to both share your skill and also make a show? Is there a story to it? Are we looking at vignettes? And just seeing how these different styles tie together. It's interesting, and sometimes we might not realise immediately it's interesting because we don't have the patience or the understanding right away.
No, exactly. It's what you do with it as well. No, that's true. In terms of magic, I saw a few magic shows a couple of years ago when we had Tolworth Market, which is, I've just looked, it's been knocked down, so we can't have that again.
That was a lovely venue.
That was a lovely venue.
I still remember the jerk chicken stand. It was a lovely gentleman.
It was a great venue, but now it's gone. Everything changes. But there was a few magic shows. I'm not necessarily a fan of magic, but I like Ash Price, who's got like horror themed sort of spooky magic, and he's like debunking various different. So that's good. And I saw somebody, I think Paul Reagan, who was doing about mental illness and magic.
Oh wow!
And they both had a very similar trick, but then there was somebody else that was just doing it straight up, just doing the trick, and it was like so interesting to watch how these three different magicians use this trick, the same trick ostensibly, in different ways. It's like it's not the trick that's the thing; it's how you work it into. It's the context and it's the artistry really.
Yeah. Well, at the weekend, I saw Ava Bowes' show. Actually, I ended up teching Ava Bowes' show because some tech failed on her, as in a physical tech failed on her, and then it was like, Ben, can you operate a soundboard? Yes, I can.
Hello.
Yes, I can. Available for all your soundboard needs. Please hire me. But getting to watch Ava's show, where she's weaving magic and storytelling together, and watching it, it was sort of somewhere between like a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale and a Studio Ghibli film, and she's got such a wonderful presence on stage as well. And it's like, I've not really appreciated magic as a way of telling story before until watching this. That's amazing. And then you've got Cain and Abel, the magician's twin possible, sort of debunking twin ideas through magic. And you know, it's so lovely to see how they use these same tricks to, well, not the same tricks obviously, but like they're using the similar skills and that methodology to say such different things.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's the same with anything. It's like, good, I don't like opera. It's like, what do you mean you don't like opera? That's a very broad thing. I don't like poetry. It's like, what do you mean by that? There's an awful lot of poetry. There's an awful lot of everything. I don't like novels. What novels? Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially with all that, there's the concept of how it is presented to us. I'm sorry, I've never actually had the chance to go see a full opera before. I've seen little clips of them at the festivals near where I grew up, but to actually get the chance to go see a full opera, I've not been able to. But something like a poetry show, most people are given poetry at school, and because of how poetry is taught and how it is graded and marked, all of the joy of it goes, your heart goes out to the teachers who are sort of pitching this and have to sell it. They've got to teach to a mark scheme, otherwise they're not doing their jobs and they get in trouble. And actually, the joy of creativity, the freedom of expression, the ability to play with ideas is stripped away from the people it should be most helpful to. Yeah.
No, well, I mean, I did a lot of tutoring for GCSEs and various things, and almost all of the people that I was tutoring, it's like, they've been doing it for a year. It's like, do you understand this poem? It's like, no. So we go through it and they'd be like, and you talk about the language and what it means and what it could mean and all the stuff. And they're suddenly like, what? Wow, I want to write this. Because it's like completely...
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think with so much art, it's not... We get asked weekly, what did you think of that? As in, rated out of 5, rated out of 10. Is this good, is this bad? Should I put my money down? And actually it's like, how did that make you feel? What surprised you? What delighted you? What shocked you? What bored you? You know, being able to ask those questions and actually string emotion through your response is the route to making a more culturally excited, culturally literate society.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what's a poem? I know it's like, a poem has to have capital letters at the front, and then it has to have this particular scheme, and then it has to have rhymes. And no, it doesn't. Shut up.
Yeah. Well,
Poem's very wide.
One of my favourite
Yeah.
poems in my set is a really silly poem. In fact, may I perform it now?
Yes, let's do
So
that.
this is The Fate of the Kings and Queens of England by Ben Macpherson, aged 31 and a half. Now we all know the Tudor poem, the Tudor poem, divorced, beheaded, died,
yeah.
divorced, beheaded, survived. It's a good poem, not a long poem, only 6 words and 2 of them repeat themselves.
Yeah.
But within that, you have got a nugget of history passed down that we learn from. This keeps getting shared, keeps getting repeated. However, we have got 1,000 years of kings and queens of England.
Yeah.
So I've written a better poem.
Oh.
I've written a longer poem. It is called The Fates of Every Single King and Queen of England. It goes like this. Died, 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 died. Died, 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 died. Died, 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 died. Died, died, abdicated. Died, died, Charles.
And it's perfect.
It's not complicated. It's not going to win me a T.S. Eliot award. And you know what? If it did, I'd probably return it.
Yes, exactly. It's like,
but
well,
there
you go.
to have that space to play with ideas, it's really fun. If you wanted to get deep into the meta criticism of that, actually what we have there is a representation of history being turned down into trivia, rather than truly drawing on the lessons that can actually be learned from these matters. There's a deeper meaning that you can draw from that poem if you are so inclined. But also, it's really dumb and funny.
Yeah, and also it says something about the human condition that everybody dies, apart from the one that abdicated. How did he get out of that? Did he not die?
Oh no!
Ah!
Still got Edward the
Still
Seventh.
got him.
He's
one of the undead. I think that's the explanation to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Popping around cemeteries.
Yes, exactly. Like finding jewelry, going, it's got a cat on it, my wife would like that. Oh no, she did die. Yeah, okay, that's good. So, plans for next year, apart from this, have you got any other, you want to do an adult show, you want to do a children's show, do you want to take over the world? What do you want?
Not quite taking over the world stage yet. I am hoping to just work at building the name, building the brand, really. It's a horrible way to approach art, but the more people who know who I am, what I do, the more I'm able to do it.
Ben Macpherson! I think he's built his name. It's there already. It's not like Lego.
Yeah.
There's your name. It's already there.
Yes. Thanks, Mum and Dad. But I'd like to branch out and start letting people know that actually I've got these facets as an artist that do appeal to different audiences. I don't want to just get caught up being, here's Ben with his silly little rhymes. It's like, well, actually, those silly little rhymes are really fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And stop being so elitist about your content.
This is it. Whatever you create, people love it, then it's valuable.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, then it's still valuable. Because it's subjective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
It's just made me think of... there's a wonderful sketch from Mitchell and Webb where they're trying to work out the running order of their show. Yeah. And they go, okay, good one, bad one, good one, bad one. And they're talking through the sketches. It's like, these are the sketches people remember, and these are the ones that are just there to fill. And the world is full of filler material. You know what? Filler material's really enjoyable.
Yeah, and sometimes the filler material is what people really wanted and liked and really, really loved. And think, well, that's what will stay with me for life. I've changed my life because of the filler material.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't discount them. Ew, but that was my worst one. How dare you insult your audience?
Yeah, well, this is, you have... I've been to a couple of shows where I've gone to compliment the performer afterwards. I really enjoyed that show. And they're like, it wasn't a good day today. It's like, oh, well, I enjoyed it. What's wrong with my opinion? Yeah, exactly.
Just take the win.
Just take the compliment. Exactly. Oh dear.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure and joy. I'll let you go because it's very rainy here, although I might buy a drink or something to make up for this. And thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. If folks are looking for poetry for all ages, you can find me every day at Burrito and Shake on Southbridge. Midday, serious nonsense. Ben Macpherson does poems.
Yes, I usually say that, but you said that, so it's fine. It's good because he knows where he's at. So
always plug.
Always plug.
Always plug.
Always. All right then. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, folks.